All right, we're good to start. Okay, I'll quickly introduce myself first, and then we can go ahead with a very brief introduction for all of you, maybe now or later, whenever you guys want. So I'm Varun Poladia from Navan.ai. We are primarily an AI and generative AI products and services company. We're headquartered in Singapore, but we do operate from multiple locations. So most of our operations happens out of India and Singapore, both obviously, and we have channel partners across Asia, so mostly in Vietnam, Middle East Asia, and a few in Europe and US as well. So that's who we are in a very broad on a very broad level to give you an idea. And thank you all for joining on a weekday in the afternoon, and appreciate your interest, and appreciate that you've gotten time on a busy afternoon, on a busy weekday afternoon to join. I mean, it's afternoon for me, but for you guys it may be evening or morning depending on where you're located. So thank you all, and I'll just give you a brief about what we're going to talk about today. So we'll be talking about email marketing on a very broad level. We'll be touching upon different strategies, different tools that can be used for email marketing. And we'll be talking about how generative AI has changed the way email marketing happens now, especially for B2B businesses, right? So let's get started here. And before we start, in case you guys want to introduce yourselves or have a quick round of introduction, we can do that as well. So in case you guys are interested, please unmute yourself and go ahead. You can introduce yourself.
Hi, Varun.
Hello,
Hello.
Suresh.
Yeah, hi. Myself Suresh. I work for an software development company. Okay, as a business development manager. I take care of end-to-end here, like starting from email campaigning till closing the lead. Okay. So this is about shortly about myself. Yeah. Thanks. Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks for joining.
Yeah.
Anyone else who would like to talk about what they do?
Hello.
Hey, hi, Manoj. Yeah.
Hi, Varun. Basically, my name is Manoj Kumawan, and I'm working as a business developer manager in IT firm called Mindify Technology. We are basically work on IT services like web development and website development project, and more about we are in also staffing services that we are providing the contract basis. So yeah, that's it from my side.
All right. Thanks for joining. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so let's do this. We have, I think the time I had assumed for the introduction has already been exhausted. So we keep the introductions and networking at the end of the webinar. We will have some time for that. And again, we can have a round of discussion at the end, introduce all of you. I mean, you guys can introduce yourselves and get to know who all are there in the room today. And for now, I'll get started with what we want to discuss, what we want to get, talking about. So let's look at B2B marketing on a very broad level, right? There are different ways in which businesses market themselves, and depending on the industry, depending on your offerings, depending on who you're targeting, there could be multiple ways in which you reach out to your potential customers, right? Potential prospects and customers. So there are several ways, but then I've just listed down a few which are most common across several companies in B2B marketing across industries as well, right? So one is the most obvious, which has been going on for a very long time, is events. So all of us visit events, meet people, build networks, build connections, and that's how we get to know about new prospective customers, and that's how we market our businesses, right? That's one of the oldest ways in which B2B marketing has been happening. The other is advertising, digital advertising, could be traditional advertising, and so on. And it has been going on for a very long time again. So it does not need a lot of explanation. is just that with the advent of AI, the way advertising runs, the way ads are created has also changed, and there's a lot of personalization that has come into the picture. And then all of us have partners, reseller partners, channel partners, and so on, who help us with new leads, who already have connections, and if there's anything relevant that comes up where we could help, they let us know. They reach out to us, they refer customers to us, and then we get new customers from there. That's also one of the oldest ways in which lot of B2B businesses market themselves. Then there's cold emails and calls, which has been going around for a very long time, probably since the start of marketing itself, as long as calls and emails were available. I mean, even before emails, we had, those physical letters that used to go out and so on, or fax used to go out and so on, right? So there has been some kind of cold reach out that has been happening for a very long time. And this is something that we're going to talk about today in depth, as to how it has changed, what are the new strategies, what can be done to improve your email marketing specifically. And calls, I'm not going to touch about, because that's something I do not do, and I do not insist on anyone to do, because it's very intrusive. Unless you already have like a hot lead and you would want to talk to them, then calls are probably useful. But cold calls, I personally don't really prefer. And then there's content marketing, which is more of which these days at least has become one of the most common ways or methods for inbound marketing, where you create content, you create informative content, case studies, and a lot many things where by which you tell people, you get you get your business in front of other people when they are looking for certain kind of content or help and so on, right? So that's content marketing. And then there's social media and influencers. So social media, again, I mean, one of the distribution channels for content is social media. And then you have influencers who already have a certain kind of audience, and they would want to use or they would want to let your business grow through their network, right? So that's the other influencers. And there are several other ways also in which you can market your B2B business, but then these are the most common ones, followed by everyone across the board. Now let's dive a little deeper into email marketing, how it used to be done before, and before the advent of generative AI, or before the advent of AI, and now how it's being done with generative AI in the picture, right? So usually earlier, what used to happen is, let's say you're using a tool, for example, like a Mailchimp, or say SendGrid or Brevo or any of these tools, right? And you would have like a template. You would create your content in that, put in your contact content in that template, and you would send out the same message to all everyone you have in the campaign, in that list, right? So irrespective of how many people are there, you would probably just personalize it with the first name or the company name and so on, and that will be the same message that everyone would be getting. So that used to happen for a very long time. And after the advent of generative AI, what people have started pivoting to is more of hyper personalized messaging, personalized campaigns. So even if you're sending out your message to the same set of people, the same list of, let's say, 1,000 people, 2,000 people, and so on, with the advent of, or with the help of generative AI, you can now personalize every email, for the content, based on the content that you are trying to generate for every email, right? So that kind of personalization, I mean, when I say personalization, it's like your entire email, up to probably about 90% of your email is different for each of your recipients, right? So that's what generative AI has helped us to do. How, that's what we'll get into later. But I'm just trying to compare what used to happen earlier and what now, what's the change that's coming up in the industry, or that people are adopting these days in the industry. With traditional, there used to be a lot of spam, because obviously you used to send the same message for everyone, and some people may not really resonate with that, so they would mark you as spam, or even spam filters would kind of auto mark emails with the same content as spam. And now, with every email being personalized with the help of generative AI, your email campaigns are diverse, and the content is very diverse. So the likelihood of spam is very low. One, because there's personalization, so the person on the receiving end would resonate with the content. And second is that all your emails are different from each other. So even if you're sending out a big email campaign, the likelihood of that campaign or the email sending up in spam are is much lesser as compared to your non-personalized emails. And the earlier, yeah, obviously, with the lack of personalization, every email used to be very cold. You would have the same content, same pitch, and everyone and everything for the entire list of people that you would want to reach out to. But now every email is personalized, so it's very engaging, it's very interesting for the reader, and it actually grabs the attention of the reader. So that's I think one of the biggest advantages of using generative AI for email campaigns. And obviously, because of all the other reasons in the traditional market and in the traditional campaigns, the delivery rates used to be very low. The open rates and response rates also used to be very low. So delivery rates used to be low because a lot of emails would end up with spam. But now with the personalization, you have high delivery rates. And then with every subject being personalized for the recipient, your open rates also go up. And when the content itself is very personalized, the response rates also goes up with a generative AI powered campaign. And earlier you used to get, I mean, you talk to any email marketer who has been doing email marketing for a very long time. Without the use of personalization, your open rates would be, close to anywhere between 15 to 30%. But typically it will be around 20% range for a lot of campaigns. But now, especially what I have seen and what we have witnessed with the generative AI based email campaigns is that we are seeing more than 65% open rates for the campaigns. So now it's more about quality than quantity because you reach out to 100 people and you're going to get, probably like 5 responses, 5 meetings out of that, or 10 meetings out of that, and so on. Right? Earlier, that's not how it used to be. So moving on from here, a little more into the details, right? Now, we've all understood the difference between traditional email campaigns and personalized or generative AI powered email campaigns. But what or how do you create a personalized outreach campaign, right? What's the process? That's what we'll discuss. So the first is obviously fetching emails or getting emails. There could be multiple ways to go about it. But the most common method of fetching emails is using tools like ZoomInfo or Lucia and so on, right? Where you know who you want to reach out to and you'll find their email ID. So that's and ZoomInfo is GDPR compliant, so you don't need to worry about a lot of things. So this is one of the most common ways. Again, you have your let's say you are running a blog and then you're gathering you're gathering newsletter subscribers from there. That could be another way, or there could be different ways to get email subscribers, right? So the first step obviously is getting the email IDs of the people you want to reach out to. And then, okay, once you have the email IDs, now the second question is you draft the email, you draft the content for all the emails that you want to send out. Now, this is the most tricky part because when you want to personalize every email, every reach out, every message that you are sending, it takes a lot of effort, right? So you have to do your research about the prospect, about their company, what they're doing, who their competitors are, what is it that you could pitch to them, what would they be requiring, and so on. And then all that putting together, you would have to create a summary and then try to create the email content, which is a lot of manual work, ideally, if you're not using generative AI tools. So that takes up a lot of time, and it's honestly it's not really scalable, and it's impossible to achieve good responses, achieve um, good acceleration rate for the business if email marketing is one of your strongest pillars in your marketing strategy. So the research is one of the most important parts, but the other problem is that it also takes a lot of time. But let's say you have the research done and now you have the content for each of your recipients ready. Then you just have to send out the emails, right? Where you use any email tool like MailChimp or Brevo or say SendGrid or several other tools that are available. Or you may also send out from your own email ID, which is say probably using your email client like Outlook or Send or Gmail or so on, right? So the three parts are one, getting the email ID, so knowing who to send out the email to. Second, creating the content, and third is sending the content. Right now, I'm not going to talk about the technical aspect of this, technical aspect of sending out email campaigns and the integrations and so on, that's something we can cover in a different webinar, different discussion, because that again is quite a bit to talk about. But today I'm going to focus more about the research part, the content part, because that's something that all of us can customize, that all of us can work on and improve with the use of AI, right? Now, what constitutes the prospect research, right? The body that you create for every email, that would depend on what information are you gathering about your prospect, about the person and the company that they are working at, right? So in terms of the company, you would want to know about what their products and services are, what their offerings are, who their competitors are, who are the people, who are the most important people at that company, what's the revenue, where are they based, how many employees do they have, are they growing or not, what's the churn rate, and so on. What's your tech stack, so that you know what you're trying to pitch would be easy to integrate for them with their tech stack or not, and so on. And then the news, which would help you understand what the company is doing in recent times, right? And then there are buying signals. So buying signals, I think, are the most important part, because if you know that a certain company is or may have a requirement which directly corresponds to what you're trying to sell, then it makes the entire process of reaching out very easy, right? And the personalization can be far more effective. So a few buying signals that everyone in the industry uses are like jobs that may have been posted for certain roles, or earning calls which may have certain announcements for the next few years or next few quarters, and so on. Then there are press releases which announce certain things about the company, future plans, or any new products or services that the company may have come out, or any partnerships that the company may have engaged in, and so on. And then there's social media activity about the organization and about their employees as well, which can give you a lot of insights. And then there's revenue growth, which gives you an understanding of uh, the uh, the financial aspect of the company, or the financial aspect of the organization that you're trying to reach out to. And the last part is reviews, right? So reviews would give you an understanding of whatever they are trying to do is helpful, is not helpful, how are their customers perceiving that. So a lot of times we have realized that reviews could be a gold mine of information, because let's take an example. A negative review about a certain product from a company that you're trying to reach out to would probably mean that there's an opportunity where you can pitch your product or your service, your offering basically, which can make their product better, and in the end their customers could benefit from that, right? So those negative reviews could be turned into positive reviews directly when this company or prospect buys your offerings and integrates with their offerings, right? So that's just one very broad level example, but then all of these buying signals help a lot in understanding what to pitch, who to pitch, and what is it that the prospect could be in the need of, right? So this is something again which a lot of account-based marketers do, because reaching out to everyone without any knowledge about what they may be looking for does not make any sense. It's just shooting arrows in the dark, which is like pure gold, which is very primitive and kind of stone edge. But with some information about the prospect, knowing what signals could be there, or reducing what kind of buying signals could be there, helps a lot in making your campaign much more effective, right? So this is the research part in which is one of the most essential things in creating the content of the email. Now, on the other hand, the essentials of a good email campaign are these. So I've just listed down a few of them. One is personalization. So your content or every email is personalized, and then there's a subject line which explains what you're trying to offer, or what is it that you want to achieve, or it could even be a success story that you're just talking about in the subject line. So something that essentially grabs the attention is what the subject line should try to achieve. Then the copy, the main body of the email should have a good copy. It should be well researched and most importantly personalized. And if you can add some buying signals or subtly mention about those buying signals, that adds a lot of value. And ultimately, just sending one email does not really work out, because you need several touch points, several points where you are trying to reach out to, or you're trying to connect with your prospect, and that's when the conversion will ultimately happen. The conversion could be a meeting, could be somebody signing up on something, or so on, whatever it is, right? So the email would ideally be a discovery or proposal emails, which starts with something where you are introducing yourself, and then gradually goes to building more trust and offering your product service, solving some other pain point, building trust on what you are offering, and then ultimately getting to have your prospect book a meeting, or take that action that you intend to do, using that entire campaign that you've built, right? The email campaigns, sorry, the emails that you're sending throughout that campaign would ultimately help you reach that end goal that you're trying to push. So these are a few essentials on a very broad level. Again, the nitty-gritties, the details for each and every step would be quite a lot, and that's something that you have to work out. And it's something that you would do if you're doing, you would know if you're doing email campaigns for a very long time, you would already know what are the details of each and every step, right? Now, coming to the most essential part, which is the research about your customer, about your prospect, or about the person you're trying to reach out to, the person and the company you're trying to reach out to. It's a very, very manual and personalized process. I mean, at least so far, most companies have been doing the same, or most email marketers have been doing the same, which means that so I mean, there are a few numbers that I took for reference, and ultimately what happens is it boils down to you being, or the email marketer being able to send about 48 emails per day in a span of 8 hours if they're working continuously without any break, right? Because that's the amount of time it takes, roughly about 10 minutes for each prospect to gather the research data that you would need to draft that email campaign, to draft that email for that prospect, which means that there's a very high cost, because 48 emails in one day, non-stop working for 8 hours, is kind of it's just impossible. So there's a very high cost. There's employee fatigue, because after a point in time, nobody's going to be able to do the same thing again and again continuously for a very long time. So there's going to be fatigue for that person who is working, or for that team that's working on drafting the email content, the email campaign. And ultimately, it's low return on investment, because you invest a lot, but then your your return is not as high. I mean, your outcome is not as high as the amount of effort and the cost that you put in. The cost is not just the time, but the cost is also the number of employees that you're engaging in that process, right? So the salaries that you're paying to those employees, that's another cost, which usually we overlook because it's kind of considered implicit. But that's another cost that you should also consider in this process, right? Now, moving on, if there was a solution, what if there was a solution, right? The same thing that you're trying to achieve in 8 hours can easily be done, or more than that can be easily done in just about an hour or lesser, actually, right? So the question is, how do you go about it, right? I mean, it sounds interesting. It's something that everyone wants to achieve, but how do you go about it, and how do you do that? So the answer there is the usage of generative AI. What happens is all the research that we want to do has now been accelerated with the use of generative AI, right? So you can use any tools. You can use ChatGPT, you can use Gemini, you can use a lot of other LLM tools also, which are, or Perplexity, and several other tools which are available for research. But ultimately, there will be a lot of manual workflow that will be involved in that, right? So I mean, depending on the scale of your organization, depending on who you are reaching out to, depending on what your email campaign targets are, the email lead or lead generation from email campaign targets are, you can try to do this research manually, or you can also manually, as in with the use of generative AI with several tools, but you can also automate the entire process, right? Now, there are several tools available, and if you do this, obviously your cost is much lower. You have automation in place. You have a lot of, I mean, your return on investment is very high, because you're doing much more work in lesser time with lesser people, right? So there's something that we have built to help this out, to make this entire process automated, right? So we have Navan.ai, on which we have, I mean, Navan.ai is a company. We are Navan.ai, but we have a product that we have recently launched, which is Cura, which is a customer discovery platform. What it does is it helps you find buying signals. So even before going to finding the buying signals, it helps you understand. It understands your ICP, and it helps you find relevant companies based on your ICP or your target audience, right? And or your ideal customer persona. And then it tries to help you with buying signals that may be there from those companies. And then once you have that information already ready, which is basically the essence, the crux of the content that will go into your email body. Then it also creates the outreach email at scale, which is a personalized, hyper personalized outreach email campaign for all of your leads at scale, right? So this is something that we help you out with on the platform, on the self-serve platform. You'll be able to get the leads, you'll be able to get the contact details and so on. But if you want to generate the outreach campaign, then you would just have to reach out to us, and we can, get started with that. So this is a tool which you can use to accelerate your go-to-market, accelerate your growth, and your email marketing, your outreach campaigns, basically at a much lesser cost and uh, much more effectiveness. So efficiency rather, not effectiveness, but efficiency. So that's what we're trying to help the industry with, everyone in the B2B marketing space with, and that's our goal, right? So that's mostly what I wanted to talk about on a broad level. I wanted to talk about email marketing and how we can get started. And you can scan this QR if you want to sign up on the platform. I'll also share the links in the group, sorry, in the Meet chat. And you can scan this QR if you want to join our community and network with others. So that's open for all, and you'll find people from your industry who are there in the community. Now, before we go to the networking part, are there any questions that you would like to talk about? Any questions that I can help you out with? Please unmute yourself and ask away. Okay, so I assume there are no questions. You're not from me. All right. All right then. So we are open for networking. We have a few minutes left, and anyone who would like to introduce yourself, talk about what you're doing, please go ahead. You can unmute yourself and do that. Meanwhile, I'll just stop the recording here.